good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to this edition of the Tuesday Telecast. We are talking about rising from self-destruction, and this is part 2 of this series. So let me not waste any time right now and just go bring Joy and Maria into the house. Hello, Joy and Maria, and welcome back. We were talking about rising from self-destruction, and we left it. So this is part 2. And everybody, if you don't remember, that was episode 13 in season 4. And now we're going to continue with that conversation. So, when we don't stagnate, we rise. It's either you do one or you do the other. So how are we rising? And last week we talked about a lot of rising from the point of societies, and how do we rise ourselves? That's my question right now.
Well, that's a fascinating question. And I just want to give a very short answer, a nutshell answer, and then we can elaborate, which is, that we humans, again, we self-destruct by nature. We've got billions of cells in our bodies that die and regenerate constantly, right? We are so created as to want on a certain level to keep ourselves very safe, to withdraw within ourselves, not to take risks. At the end of this particular cycle of our existence, we are going to go into our bodies are going to go into the grave, right? But that is just sort of like a big final manifestation of what is going on all the time, which is that we constantly die and we constantly regenerate ourselves and recreate ourselves. So I think what we here want to do is we want to move away from this physiological aspect, right? And go into the energy, into our consciousness that rises us above all of this, right? And humanity, since billions of years, has had, as we were, talking, myths of mythologies and other, I don't want to talk about religion, but perspectives and stories that have been told about what it means, what we then do when we operate from our center of higher awareness, right? Which means when we, transcend or go beyond the mechanical, physical machine that constantly dies and constantly recreate itself, right? Right. Yeah. So that's, in a nutshell, that's my understanding. So what we sort of want to discuss today is the center of higher awareness, the consciousness, like the energy, that which connects us to the universe, which, as we were saying, humanity has a very long history of going through precisely this, right? So today, my perspective is the one of quantum mechanics. That's a highly abstract technical term, which is that we all are, created by something, some piece beyond ourselves in the universe that nourishes us, that rises up us above the mechanical machine functioning, right? And that we have to know how to follow that, how to use that, how to evolve with that, how to allow ourselves to be guided by that, right? So that we can be fully human in the here and now, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
It sounds very much like the seasons, right? The season comes and the season dies, and some
Yeah.
things come and are renewed with that season. But
Yeah.
and we think we've got in our little human brains, we think we've got a handle on this because we can see this cycle. It's pretty short. And then you have something like the eclipse that happened recently in the United States and other places, but there was a big swath across the United
In the
States.
universe.
People
It didn't happen in the United States.
But
Yeah.
people in the United States were flocking to hotels for a year ahead of time to see this thing. It was utterly predictable and it was utterly outside of ourselves. It was like right there when it was supposed to be. And those in the zone of totality, which is where people went for the hotels, where you got to see the ring, the diamond ring, and it takes you out of yourself because there's not a darn thing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it. So this strikes me as a sort of a way that people have been that people feel this every day or in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely, Court.
what I wanted to say, it's kind of funny that we're talking about it in this genre, because like Maria mentioned, man has been creating myths, writing literature, creating religions, manifesting language, creating art throughout the years. All of these things are metaphors into our subconscious, right? The stories, the language, the way the words infer things, right? The relationship between the stories and our lives, all of these things, they're all our culture. It's how we understand our universe. It's because we have a consciousness that we attempt to do any of these things, because it's doubtful that dogs think about the dog God. They're probably simply making connections. They're not thinking that there's some sort of an omnipresence out there. And they get stressed, right? But they don't get depressed because of their uselessness, of the the misery of life, right? That it doesn't occur to them that these things happen. For us, we need a purpose. And without a purpose, we're miserable, right? We seek happiness. Why? Because we think. We think. I mean, you could take a look at so many of the myths, and you can see, for example, the image of evil, the evil spirit, the devil, the Satan, the Lucifer. By the way, Lucifer means the bringer of light, right?
Yeah.
Just like Prometheus brought light to man and was punished, brought fire to man and was punished.
We
These
sometimes
stories,
strike down shiny things, yes.
these stories keep repeating themselves because it's at the subconscious level. We are trying to figure out, what is evil? Are we evil? Are we all evil? Are we only evil? Is there any good? I mean, all of these stories, the hero, all of these stories are going on every day in our subconscious, trying to interpret our lives. So, like Osiris and what was it? Osiris and Horus, rising, the sun and the sunset every day. These are myths that are trying to explain to us there's a day, there's a night. And in that, there's also the woman that, appears to be infusing that functionality of day and night. So you've got the spirit of chaos, the woman, and the day and the night, and all of these things come together to be, okay, there's going to be a day and a night, and there's going to be women involved. And women are chaos, and men are are the understanding. And all of these things in many different, I mean, you can go through any mythological or cultural or historical background for any culture, and you'll find these stories, and they all seem to be the same.
Right.
See what's fascinating is we need those, like you just said, we need those because they are us, right? And you can't have any kind of human existence if you cut off any part of it, right? So what happens if we're living in a society as we do today that sort of diminishes the importance of that, or looks down upon that, or looks at that derogatorily, or thinks those are not as valid, or maybe
Or
looks,
overgeneralize them
oh,
and take
yes,
just the parts of them that are useful for the
oh,
ego. And that
yes,
can be another issue
That's a
with this.
recipe
It's
for
just,
that's a recipe for misery, and that's also
yes,
and it
yes,
is where our misery
yes.
comes from. But we don't, I think, like you were saying, we don't get rid of these stories. We'll just say, oh, well, this is the part of this that's important anyway. And then we're miserable. And then we
right.
start blaming everyone else. But that's another
Dismissing the
story.
Bible as and saying, oh, that's just a bunch of hooey is easy for somebody who's decided that they want to be an atheist because it's trendy. But you can become an atheist, but you still believe in something. I would say that many people who think that they're atheists are probably agnostics,
Mm-hmm,
whereby they just don't know and they're just seeking knowledge.
mm-hmm,
They're not saying, I don't believe. They're rejecting traditional religions, probably for personal reasons, like for I hate nuns and therefore I'm no longer Catholic. I'm an atheist.
Or I
Uh,
just don't get it. But yeah, if they're actually claiming atheism, then there's something more to it as opposed to agnostic, where they're just simply seeking knowledge. I get, yeah, I get where you're going with that. I don't know. I don't I don't worry too much about these people.
no, no,
they're able to believe what they believe, but as
no,
long as they
the
don't
ones
impart
that
it on me.
the
but I
ones that
would say, go
the
ahead.
ones that I worry about are those that disregard, don't want to acknowledge or give any proper, value to what we were saying is in the subconscious, which has been always in the subconscious, which will always stay there. Because when you do that, when you say, and I don't like to use the word repression, I don't like to use very Freudian terms or anything like that, but when you do that, when you say, okay, this doesn't exist, or it's for fools, or it's some alternative lifestyle, or it's new age, or it's like a separate category of people that are gonna do yoga, or if that compartmentalizing the human experience, when you do that to an extreme, it's gonna come back at humanity and haunt it. And it's logical that it does that. You know, and what I find, really fascinating is today, there are some, politicians in particular, but also, other intellectuals that like to talk about, oh, there was a czar, there was a Kaiser who was evil, Tsar was evil, whatnot evil. But but big, things out there that wow, look at that. But then when you actually go back to those particular periods and you look at eyewitnesses, like common people who lived at that time, uh, where's the Tsar? Why does no one mention the Tsar? Where is the Kaiser? Where's the
Right.
big evil?
Right.
No people, no. I mean, no, right? Because those are not important. Those did not write history, right? Bottom line is, and this may be a very extreme thing, but I believe it's 200% accurate. Those big evil beings, people's characters, they don't exist out there. They don't just get up in the morning and say, hey, today I'm going to destroy humanity. No, I mean, I know this is a very extreme and harsh statement, but these societies that disregard the creations of the subconscious create those, That's why those exist, because
It's
yeah, and
it's like
it's
saying, how did
mm,
the Holocaust
yes,
become what it was?
yeah,
It wasn't just, at one point in time, Hitler said, you know what, I'm going to put all the Jews in, cookhouses and fry them up, and we'll have bacon. He didn't. He did those things, yes, but also all of these other people allowed it to happen.
Right. He was not alone.
He was not alone. So
Mhm.
we've got lots of people that allowed him
That's a
to.
great example. That's a great example with Hitler, because what happened, and again, this is not very popular to talk about. What happened in German society at that time is it was extremely, extremely deprived, very deprived of culture, very repressed by World War One, like the big idea of having lost, being decimated by World War One, just being the not having employment, not having meaningful expression. Exactly. And when you have this sort of like a destroyed society, a society that's basically caving in at the bottom, that's crashing through, absolutely, that is what it is going to create. And that, and this is where I think the question of evil comes in, because you cannot then blame these people, because these people who were like homeless or unemployed and having no meaning, no nothing, no direction, living like in complete spiritual desolation, you cannot blame them and say, hey, it's your fault because you didn't know any better, you didn't know that this guy was going to do these things, and you are, that makes absolutely no sense, right? So that's a great example. And there was actually German thinking at that time, that sort of feeds exactly into this example, because then what they then create is this mythos, is this myth, it's this thing that's going to save us, right? Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very much something that happens every day in every country, and more in some countries than others. Some are just plugging along and not really doing much. But if there's some sort of change going on, there usually is something of this sort of mythos at the forefront of it. There's um, the idea that there is a dark and a light, and that one part of us, and not the part of us that's us, but the part that's them, whoever they are, is the dark part, and that we are the light. And we would never dare step up against that, because then we might be saying that we are the dark, as opposed to looking at how we are within ourselves,
Yes,
everything.
you got, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very accurate.
The
Yeah, that's very
fall,
accurate.
the fall we'll go back to the Bible. The fall of paradise happened when Eve gave Adam the apple, and he ate the apple of the tree of life, which gave him intelligence, which meant he thought he knew.
Mm-hmm.
I know now. That is the cardinal sin. You only know what you think you know. You do not know. And don't assume that you know, because that is the omnipotence of the universe, that we think we know, we're searching to know, we want to know, we're lost until we know, but
Mm-hmm.
we all have to accept that leap of faith. That
Yes.
doesn't answer the question. It just basically says, be in the moment.
Yeah, well, the problem is the contemporary idea of I mean, the problem is medicine, is the medical practice of medicine that occurs behind closed doors. It has its own jargon. You need to be whatever accredited by whatever board in order to practice medicine. There are all those closed door conferences, research that's going on, which we have no clue about whatsoever. But they use those terms that the entire population should know and use on a daily basis. That's the I mean that's the bottom line, the problem. And then when you go and see a doctor, they are not going to tell you the truth of whatever is being researched, of whatever is being discussed at high-level conferences, of whatever the history of that particular thing is. They're just going to read to you the tablet, the bullet points.
Well, I think there are some things to be assumed here that are assumed by some people and aren't assumed by others, that in medicine, that all doctors know what it is that they're doing. Now, that sounds kind of funny. They don't necessarily not know what they're doing, but they are doing as opposed to knowing. Oftentimes, and the best doctors are doing with some sense of their own intuition, and they're going outside of themselves, and they're truly embodying the Hippocratic Oath.
I was just about to say,
wow.
thank you. Why would we even create a Hippocratic Oath? Do no evil. Why would we do that? Because
Right.
this is age old.
This is very old, but the thing is that a lot of the medical practitioners, and I don't mean all of them, but most of them don't know about what's going on that will keep us sick, that will keep us coming back, and what goes on that will like in the pharmaceutical industry, we don't necessarily know. And then some people know this and some people know that, but then it comes back to that idea of, what is this knowing? And we only know what we know and what we have created and what we are putting forth and being and doing. And that's the most that we can know. So I have one doctor who recently who recently did surgery on me. And this is an abdominal surgery that she did not want to give me. Now, she could have been putting on a big act, but I'm pretty intuitive too, and I also have a lot of medicine in my background. She was not she did not want to do this surgery because she didn't think it would make me better. And then she had some more information, and she's regarded as an excellent doctor. And one thing I notice about her is there's no ego there, which is kind of rare. Of course she has an ego, but she puts it aside, and she was truly trying to make me better. Was so happy afterwards that she had done so, and was also saying, this is what could have gone wrong, this is what did go wrong, this is how we fixed it. And there were multiple ways of seeing that, of checking in on that, checks and balances and transparencies. It's not necessarily the
But
case.
that's a really an exceptional case. I mean, that hasn't been my experience at all. I mean, I had to go to other countries. I had to do very extreme things to get some very basic answers. And then what struck me is that the answers were so basic as well. Why couldn't any doctor give those to me?
Right. And
But they
sometimes I
don't think
think
like
that they
don't
don't
think like that.
necessarily know, like in the case of when COVID first came up as something that some of us theorized that, oh, somebody knows, and some of us said, oh, nobody knows, and somebody said it's going to kill us all, and others said, just drink bleach, you'll be fine. So we went around.
That's a
I dare
symptom.
say they knew.
That's a symptom. That is a symptom of the whole practice of medicine being so totally divorced from our daily life, that there would actually be people around who would consider that drinking bleach is, in any universe, something that might have some validity.
I don't think any
But then
doctors were saying
everybody's
this
going to
because
get
it would be
killed.
there.
Right? Everybody being killed. That's also completely I mean, it's not only unreasonable, it's something that's really, it's a non-existent. I mean, but all of that is symptoms of the fact that the practice of medicine is not at all present in people's daily lives as it should be. Because if you use herb, or you're a herbalist, you are some alternative, you are something Chinese, you are something from out of space, right? But herbs have energetic frequencies that constantly exchange themselves with our bodies. There can't be anything more intimate, more human than herbs or plants, right? Plants, herbs being plants. I mean, that's
That's
just
where
one
all
single
medicine comes
example.
from.
Well,
Right,
that's the
but that's
thing,
just one
right?
single example.
The pharmaceuticals that we have are synthesizing
Yeah, I
the
know that. Yeah,
the medicinals that have been around for a long time and putting them in different combinations. But
why
when
don't they work? Why are there people for whom those don't work at all?
because we've lost the intuition to be
Yes.
able to
Well, there
do
you
it, and
go.
we've lost the individual trust in somebody we know, like, and trust. Somebody, our
Yes.
They're
herbalist, our
sacred. The
There you go.
practices were
Exactly.
sacred practices, so very similar to lots of the disciplines, like
Like the
all of the
mythological,
Asian
the
disciplines,
subconscious. Yes,
the Asian
precisely.
disciplines that are sold to the West. You know, karate. All of those
we've very
different.
much
They
split.
they are they those are not the disciplines. That's what's been sold to us.
Yes.
The actual disciplines are very different,
Mm,
and they require discipline, a lot of discipline,
mm.
and it's I don't want it's spiritual. Let's not use the word religious. It's
Yes.
spiritual, because people freak out when you say religious, although it's religious. It's
Mm,
spiritual, so that these things, if you are going to be, doing qigong or anything like that, it's not just, oh, this is the movement. No, it's a whole discipline, and we
mm.
don't have that. We're just taught.
Yes. Yes.
We're
Mm.
just taught, we're in this 45-minute class. We're going to be doing these 10 movements. Go home and practice them. Very good. See you later. Bye. And everybody's,
No.
oh,
Hopefully
I'm into
eventually you
doing
can get
this.
something of what those movements are doing. It depends on who your
Mm.
teachers are too.
Right.
I
But
mean,
what I've been
There
told,
you go. You have to go to a teacher to learn that.
what
See,
I've been told
yes.
is that the actual disciplines have not been handed down. They are mystery religion. They are mystery cults, mysteries that
Yes.
you need to be
Yes.
initiated into. They just don't give that information out.
Right. They belong to us, but see, they belong to us. Yes. And having a society, a culture where that is viewed as something separate, as having to be sick, and then you have to go and see a doctor, and that is the completely wrong. It's a completely wrong mindset.
so this
Or
brings
having,
me into into
yeah.
the really the question that we were talking about is this mythos and
Hmm.
this dark and this light, and where does this come in? I mean, it looks to me like it comes in. Where would you say that the darkness is coming in to create this separation from us and our bodies and our medicine and our healing?
Well,
This
that's the definition of fascism. Of not, I mean, that's what they did. That's a.
I think this is the definition of man, the dark and the
Oh,
light,
but you mean it in the good
fighting
way, in the
to
natural way?
create,
Yes. Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
every day, all day, sometimes winning, sometimes losing,
Yeah.
waking up the next day to do the damn thing again. And it seems pointless, but that is the human condition. That
Mm,
is the brilliance of the human condition. Will we only win?
mm,
I can't answer that question. I think that only winning will denature the win. So it becomes nothing if we're only winning all the time. Oh, I'm aspiring higher and higher and higher. At which point do we say, who needs to do this anymore? I'm as high as I can get. It's great. It's greater. It's greatest. I'm done.
Then you come into philosophies, really the philosophies, the Greek philosophers, the Stoics, and the idea of eudaimonia, that in which we are doing because we need to have a purpose, right? Which we've said that we are doing good work. It doesn't mean that we are saving the world. It doesn't, we're just doing good
Well,
work
the-
every day, and that is bringing us a satisfaction and our responsibilities ourselves, not what somebody else is doing, and that is bringing us and those are philosophies that we've done to deal with this that are not making us win or lose, but we're kind of winning every day because
exactly.
we're a little bit more mellow about it all.
And we wake
Yes,
up.
well, I mean, we can on this cycle of this particular lifetime, we can never be really fully human. We can never say, okay, I'm fully human now. I don't need to be more human. Cannot, cannot, right? There's always the beyond to the beyond, right? There's always the vision that goes beyond. And I'm sure everyone knows we are using about 20% of our brain only, and our brain is not even our center of higher awareness. The potential that we are created with is not even remotely reached, but it is all within our power to reach because it is us, so that's my answer to the question. I mean,
Potential.
I
if
don't
somebody tomorrow morning creates a superhuman, okay, now we're going to stop at that. We've got the superhuman. Let's do something else. No, there's always the supra of the superhuman.
we're always uppering
I
and
think
uppering.
that's
We-
that's the leap of faith that we have to, like, you can't imagine super into infinity. It's like,
No, I'm
what?
just using this so
But no, but
we
it
understood.
is. It is
What's
super.
that
I
idea
mean,
of
super
stagnation
into
again?
infinity.
Like either we're rising or we're stagnating, and
Yes.
we can rise again. We
Yes.
if
Mhm.
if we stagnate, but we realize that we're stagnating, we can rise again. So it's that,
Yeah.
that idea. I
Mhm.
think I would disagree with your statement that that most people know that we are only using 20% of our brains. I don't think most
That's what
people are.
people,
Yeah,
you mean
right.
people know that? Oh, I mean, I thought people watching who may be more inspired
Oh, yes,
spiritually, not
people in
most
this
people.
audience may.
Maybe. Yes, yes.
But yeah, I don't think that. I think that there's a lot of people going through life not really thinking about how much of their brain they're using versus how
Yes.
much of the brain they're not using. They're just going through life,
Mhm.
and they're just
God bless them.
doing the thing, or they're just being. If they're just being, I would like to meet them, because that's what we all strive to do.
There are, and I'm not making a judgment. There are people that think simply. And
And there's
that's
that
not a
too.
judgment.
Yeah.
That's just, they think simply, and they're sometimes a little bit more happier than the people that are intelligent or
I would
intelligentsia or
say a lot.
intellectual.
Yeah.
I would
The
say
intellectuals ask
yes.
why, and these simple people say, "Oh, I'm so happy."
Yeah, but see, with the simple people may be using their subconscious in a better way than the intellectuals.
That's why I say I'm
They
not
may
judging.
actually be evolving in a way that is really highly beneficial to them, and that does not involve the highly intellectual. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Many times I can remember
Oh, yeah.
having conversations
I
with
agree. Yeah.
mom
Mm,
at dinner. I'm
mm,
sorry, at breakfast. We would talk and talk and talk, and my father would sit there until his eyes crossed, and he'd get up and leave.
mm,
And that's because my father thought fairly simply. You
mhm,
do it, you don't do it, you move on, right? And
mhm.
I'm like, but why did I do it? Did I want to do it? How many times did I do it? Do you know what I did? What was I wearing when I did it?
Mhm,
And that interested my mom and I. We could discuss it for, ad nauseum to my dad. And
mhm.
and I'm again, he was a fairly simple guy. Fairly simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out and cut the lawn.
Mhm.
Yeah. And did he cut the lawn because it needed to be
Yeah,
cut?
because it's
Or
long.
did he cut it because he really just enjoyed being in that state of being outside with the lawnmower and doing that? And it doesn't really matter. I mean, but some of us would ask, is that why he was doing it? Was he doing it because his wife was
Some of us
nagging
would have
him? Was
said,
he doing it because
Some people would say, well, why do you have to do it? Why don't you hire somebody to do it? You could be doing
That
other
too.
things. In the
Yes.
meantime, my dad's like, leave me alone. I'm having fun.
Right, exactly. It comes down to that we actually want to do it, or there's something else compelling that
Mhm.
we want to not be bugged by the neighbors about how crappy our lawn looks, and we don't want to be, we don't want to deal with it, and we don't want to hire somebody because we're cheap or we don't have the funds. But
Or you
more
want to do
often,
it.
it comes down to people just liking to do it. Really is all it is that they get out there and
Mhm.
they're peaceful. And if they're the kind of people who affiliate mowing the lawn with getting bitten by mosquitoes, those are the people who are hiring out.
So my dad would just do this, mow and mow, and he wouldn't think I'm getting eaten up. No, he's just mowing.
Well, there's another thing. You can be, it is a simplicity to just keep going and enjoy the moment, right? But you can also be simple. Some people would say, if you're just saying, this is my pain and my pain is this and it's my pain and I'm and staying attached to pain. But more often there is some overthinking about that pain
Mhm.
being our natural state, because pain isn't our natural state.
No.
We
Mhm.
have, so here we have the mosquito bitten person. They're like, it's as simple as this. I don't want to deal with the mosquitoes, so I'm hiring out.
But
But
it's sort
the
of like
simpler person may not notice the mosquitoes.
like meditation, when you go into that state and there's things going on around you and your mind's still working. You're supposed to, and you know this better than I do, you're supposed to release a lot of that and go into a different state. So maybe you do are having pain, maybe you're having thoughts, or maybe you're just,
But
whatever it is.
well, this goes too much into detail, but you got to differentiate between good and bad pain. You know, good. I mean, most pain should be good because it's telling you,
But there's
it's
something
telling you
going
you
on
got
that
to
you need to
work on this.
address.
This is what you got to work on, right? I mean, sort of very bad pain, which is like terminal illness, at least 3/4 into the grave kind of pain. That's it's really something else. That's it's not functioning any longer. But pain is, I mean, I love pain is great. I mean, the good pain is whew, like good exercise pain is the best thing you can have. I mean, in my whole, I just want to say something very personal. If I look at all like spiritual and energetic experiences I've ever had in my whole lifetime, and I've discussed with people, and you know, people of various knowledge, some of very high knowledge about what spirituality means, the best experience I ever had was pain that you gotta break through, you gotta do it, you gotta hit it head on, and you gotta work, you gotta kick it, you
You're
gotta hit
doing
it, you gotta
work.
destroy it. That's the best. I don't care about universe and blah and saints and religion. No, the best experience I've ever had is
Just
just destroy that pain.
just
And then
feels
yeah.
good. That's so
And that's the
satisfying.
hero. That is the hero.
Oh, okay.
That is the hero. What does the hero do? The hero has a challenge
Uh-huh. Yes.
that they must surmount.
Mm-hmm.
And at
Mm-hmm.
the end, they do.
Mm-hmm. Because that's when you learn, that's when you learn. That's when you look back and say, oh, that's what that was about. Uh-huh. Bingo.
Well,
Yeah.
And
this
destroy the hero myth. When we take the hero myth down and destroy it, that destroys the human spirit. Because now there's no challenge that you can surmount. There's no
Yes.
way of getting out of this world of chaos. You're
Yes.
locked
So
into
that's
chaos
when
forever.
we yes, exactly. That's I think when we construct these evil beings, that's what happens. Yes, when you take that away, when you everything is mechanized, everything is an automation, that's when you got something, these very evil entities out there.
Now, how do you think that this plays into, a lot of people are going to come to the title of this series and they're going to say rising from self-destruction. Well, I've done this. I survived suicide. I survived, or this other way that I was destroying myself by eating too much or eating things that I shouldn't, or by taking drugs in a way that was really hurting me, and now I've risen up, and they're going to look at this as that kind of self-destruction, and that actually is valid here in this
Oh,
conversation. It's
yes.
highly valid. So where do you see that this comes in, this stress and strain, um before we rise out of it, or before we stop ourselves from self-destructing? Where does this fall on the mythos, in the hero story?
Mhm.
That we will, the sun, this, it will be day, it will be night again. So there is no, there is no, there is no way out of this world that will, um, that will take away the misery, because the misery is what makes us
Yeah, it's us. Absolutely.
create.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
what who we are. So
Yeah.
the self-destruction is the desire to eliminate challenges, pain, misery, and not understanding how integral they are to who we are.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
we
And that,
try to get rid of that, then we end up in that self-destructive
Yes.
state that repeats
yes,
and
Yes.
repeats, because it's like the Sisyphus kind
Yes.
of model.
Yes.
Where
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. But I think that definitely has something to do with overeating. That definitely has something to do with taking drugs. Definitely has something to do with alcoholism. Yes, absolutely.
betting, cheating,
Oh
all of the
yeah.
things that
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
the human condition is
prone to do.
yeah, prone to do. Yeah, yeah, all of those things. Because if we do not have that blind faith, was a very good band.
Yes.
Don't have that blind faith that believes in something.
Yes, you got to step beyond in that moment when you have a choice between getting drunk or killing yourself and doing whatnot, and stepping beyond those. Exactly. You don't see that stepping beyond. You don't see the superhuman. You just see that's where it goes. It goes off. Yeah.
You
Hmm.
just see the misery. You think
Yeah.
to yourself, I'm miserable now. I'll be miserable later. I was
Hmm.
miserable yesterday,
Yeah.
and that's all that there is. And the truth of the matter is, you're going to be miserable again. But no, you're not miserable all the time,
Hmm.
unless that's your choice. And
That's
that's the
what you focus on. Yeah.
responsibility.
Hmm.
That's that is the rising part.
Well, see,
That's
so
your responsibility. No one's gonna, there's no ticket to
yeah,
rise.
you
Doesn't
see.
happen that way.
So, see,
So
something
many.
that happens to people who say, okay, I'm not going to commit suicide. I'm not going to get high. I'm not going to cheat. But then they go beyond that, and then they look back and they say, well, no, I am. Of course I am, because that's just what it is, right? And the reason that it happens because their decision, right? Because that's what I said about the pain, about the hitting. Like their decision to really like blast through like the star that we are. They don't fully own that because that's the subconscious. That going back to what we mentioned sort of at the beginning, their subconscious is not working with their decision making. That decision they take, say, I'm going to go beyond today, but it's only like a mechanical survival decision. It's saying, okay, because I know I want to live, I'm not going to do this, I want to live. But then it's, oh no, I should have, maybe I would have been better off if I would have just another drink, if I would just whatever bullshit, right? the reason that that happens is because the power of their decision was not working with their subconscious. It was not integrated. It's not functioning. That the psychiatric question is, well, how do you break? How do you just break that? How do you crash that, right? And that's where the power comes in. You got to break it. You got to hit it. You got to go, and no man, no woman has gone before.
That maybe is really true. There have been many guests on this show who have come to a decision like that, who have come to a very dark place where they were destroying themselves. And then when you're destroying yourself, there's a point at which you say, I should just end this because I'm destroying myself anyway. And then they had to go into that, the blind faith, and they got an answer that, hey, you should stop destroying yourself, or into the hitting a problem head on, like in the case of people who have real chemical imbalances in themselves, and their life is going, they believe their life is going well, and all of a sudden they're feeling suicidal, and and this is something that really comes up in a lot of people too. So there's the idea that you brought up, Maria, of is a psychiatric kind of hitting it and making it and taking care of it, is also something that some people have to do on their own and manage to do. Some people don't, and then it's unfortunately, kind of like the Sisyphus thing. It just it doesn't help. There's a lot of misery that continues from that.
Well,
there are some amazing people
that we are fragile.
We are. We're also strong. We're fragile and strong.
Right, but I mean, if there is a sickness, that is a chronic sickness that we are not responsible for, and that's very fragile. That happens. That happens, and that also is the human condition. I mean, we're not perfect
and I
beings.
would say that it's not necessarily bad for everyone. There are people who have a malady, a sickness, a crash, an injury, a fight that close to ends them, cancer, and
overeating, even overeating is.
Well, I'm thinking in the case of things that come that maybe did not come from them, especially children with cancer. And they have they hit it straight on by not letting it defeat them. And their spirit is one of still gratitude, curiosity. They're still enjoying the part of their life that they have. And so, my question is, are they really, they're maybe being destroyed, but they're not self-destructing at all in that case. In fact, those types of people often go on for longer. And some people say, why wouldn't you want to just end it? You're in pain, you're going to die anyway. But because they're not thinking in that kind of way. They're not thinking about the pain. They're thinking about the experience of life. And that's a totally, it's a part of us that we all have.
Yes.
But it doesn't come forth in a lot of people.
Well, I sort of have a difficult answer to that. It's because we all make it. I believe that we all make a choice to be born. We all make a choice to choose the parents that bring us, through the gate of life into this world. And, sometimes you got souls that forever want, for energies that forever want to stay children, and that's just what they are. And I think Lydia described it very beautifully, that they are still, they're sensing, they are making the best of it, they are experiencing, they are progressing, they're sentient creatures. But they made this decision, and we will never, we can, in this cycle, we can only incompletely maybe get to our own decision as to why did I decide. So we cannot really come to the root of why other people decided, unless we have some very special relationship. But there are some souls that, for whatever reason, make a decision to stay forever children, and that's just, and that we have to accept that as a society, and that's why I don't like to use the word mentally ill. Like I often speak about individuals who, according to common parlance, would be referred to as mentally ill, schizophrenics, psychotics. But I never use those words, and sometimes I'm sort of looking for words, because I don't use those words. I use childlike. I use, you made a decision. Okay, you're gonna call me a schizophrenic, but what really happened is this person made a decision to come to this world and stay forever a child for all eternity. And we cannot judge that by saying, hey, you're a schizophrenic or you're psychotic, right? But because again, we are in this society where we compartmentalize things. We need to have a safe existence. We need to go through life. We need security. We can't have people wandering the streets, because of all of that. We need to label people and say, okay, schizophrenics going to, need medications. I need to go to hospitals, and you get the point, right? Yeah, I see Lydia sort of gets the point. So that's my answer. I know it's very hard, kind of unusual.
I also, I mean, it's part, I keep saying it's part of the human condition, but it has been the bane of our existence when someone is born with a malady, whether maybe they're deformed.
Yeah, but we refer to that as a formality. We refer to that. They may have had, that soul may have just wanted to stay a child for all eternity,
But in cultures of the past who could not have provided for them, they were just exposed. They were just exposed.
And
The baby was
oftentimes,
born, and it was just brought and exposed, and thrown off a cliff. Horrible things that we
Right.
wouldn't do today. But
Yeah.
instead, we just let the baby grow up, and then we put it in jail. Neither here nor there. But we're all, that is also part of the human condition.
Yes.
The unfortunate, the fact that we are a biological entity that is not always perfect.
Yeah, but I think we label it like that, because whatever that creation that came into this world may have had a very different intention and maybe living a very different intention, because I mean, I don't know what experience.
It's hard to what you might be saying is that there's a spirit that is in control of a body. And what I'm saying is that I don't know how much the spirit is in control of the body.
Well, so you have schizophrenics if you really look at them as creations as opposed to as illnesses, who are extremely, extremely psychic, who are totally mad, completely for our social, political purposes. They should be locked up because they create.
Well, there could be many reasons why they are. I mean, they could be.
Yes, but
they
are
could be chemically imbalanced. They could have been beaten. They could have had an injury.
At moments. So how does that happen? Extremely, well, I mean, deeply psychic, but then they go again into the craziness. So there's really only one explanation, or you either adopt this medical Western facade where you say, okay, you disregard the psychic, you disregard the sensitivity that Lydia earlier said, you just lock them up, you just label them, or you just say, okay, this is a different creation. And I mean,
the society needs to find a place for these people to coexist.
Yes.
Difficult. I'm not solving it. I'm not labeling it. I'm saying difficult. Right.
Well, it comes down to, it doesn't always come down to this, but if there's a consequence that happens from the relationship with this person, causing one or the other party to cause harm, then one of the party is going to go to jail. That's a consequence because people in our society say, I don't want them to cause me harm.
Yes,
Whether
that's a
that's the
me,
person who
exactly. That's a
had
thing. That's a society. Yes.
the
Right.
medical condition, or whether it was the person who was reacting against the medical condition, somebody is going to be kept possibly safe or put in jail. And that's one of those consequences that we have in a society where people are reacting to their own safety.
And
Yes.
that's we haven't solved that problem.
No,
No,
we haven't,
no,
because it's a very
no,
incomplete solution.
no,
It doesn't work at all. But
no.
that's another talk entirely.
Yes, yes, I mean, that's an economic financial problem because you can't tell somebody, okay, you gotta have to spend all your resources and time learning how to address this schizophrenic as a whole creation. You got to reshift your mindset. You got to take time out from work. You can't go to work for 3, 4 months until you got that tuned into your brain. It's not gonna, no, not doable. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
So
We're fragile
Yes.
we're very fragile entities, very fragile. It's a miracle that we even exist.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are created by miracles. We are, each one of us is a miracle. Yeah, yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
and we can actually choose what we're going to be, but we don't really know oftentimes how to address that. But then we're coming up against is when we say today, right now, I'm going to be peaceful. Right now, I'm going to be confrontational. Right now, I'm going to be angsty. We can actually choose that stuff,
Yes.
but when we are choosing that, then we're butting up against our divinity, we're our very essence, and it's not a place that a lot of people go. I feel I feel peaceful today because nobody's bothering me, because I like the garden, because I like the birds.
Mhm.
As opposed to today, I'm going to be peaceful.
Yes. Hmm.
When we get to that place, I believe that that is one step toward us rising up, because we're actually being present in ourselves, the only one that we really have control over, and we're going forward, and we're saying how we're going to be. It, how
We're
much
telling the
more do we
ego
tend
to
to
shut
want
up
as humans?
and be peaceful,
Hmm.
and the ego is saying, no, but that person over there is driving a
Shut
nicer
up.
than I have. And you're like, no, shut up. I'm going to be peaceful. But yeah,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
that is the superhuman. That
Yeah.
is superhuman that can block it out and not walk around in a state of meditation and do it, but actually be in the
Yeah.
moment. Do you know how,
Yay.
when people
Yay.
say, oh, be intentional and be in the moment, I mean, when you actually think about it, do you realize how difficult that is?
Oh, absolutely. That means you're correctly working with your subconscious. I mean, that's
It
the
is
hardest. I mean,
so difficult
yeah.
because
Hmm.
we go on autopilot instantly.
It's
Hmm.
that simple way of explaining the end goal, really.
Hmm.
When be intentional, be present.
Yeah.
It's really an end goal, but we can rise to it. As we wrap this up, I want to get one go around on how, not individual answers of how we rise above, if we've just been shot, or if we've overeaten, but more, it essentially, what's the shift in our consciousness that allows us to rise up, to stop stagnating, to stop going downward, and to rise up.
That's well, if you ask me, that is the miracle. That is the miracle made into life. The miracle, I mean, made into our life, because for each one it's going to be different, but it's setting the intentions, setting the intention straight with all of the energy you got, and that requires, I mean, I know what it is for me, and I'm going to get into that now because it involves my grandmother. So I talk about my grandmother now. Sorry, but it's setting the intention right with all of the making your intention to making the miracle into your intention, and setting that right, and going beyond, breaking through. Yeah, that is the miracle, bottom line. Yeah.
I'll give you two quotes.
Okay.
Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, there was nothing, which exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stagnation doesn't work.
Oh no. No,
So
stagnation
So
creates more.
choose
Stagnation creates
to
more.
choose to choose to rise,
and
choose
choose
to be intentional,
and choose not
choose to
to
be.
understand sometimes and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Just say, I don't get it.
Don't have to get it. If we really want to get it, we can try hard.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's
You have
really
to
our
just basically say,
priority,
maybe I'll get it tomorrow. Maybe I'll get it tomorrow. Or maybe I'll get it in a half an hour. But I don't get it right now.
yeah.
Oh my
And when
God.
we
Yeah.
let that go, we often will get it later, because that's just, it's not on demand. We
It's
can't have
that like
stuff
that
on demand.
coincidence that happens and you're like, okay, I'm not supposed to get it. Okay, I got it now. And it's a moment of peace where you're like, I'm never gonna get it, because that coincidence just happened again to remind me that I don't get it.
And there it is. It's the miracle
Evolution.
again.
Well, yeah, not Darwinian, nothing Darwinian whatsoever. I mean, it's the energy evolution. Yes.
Yeah, and as you said, Maria, the miracle. It's
Yeah.
that's the miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I want to close this conversation out on the miracle and on the rising up because of the miracle. That's what this channel is all about. It's really all about having not being at the end of the joyful path, right? But being on the joyful path because we are rising. If we're not rising, then we're spiraling downward, and we don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you guys being on the show and having this conversation with me. It honestly was a lot of fun. And I hope that the audience is finding it exciting as well. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm gonna sleep better tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation, part 2 in Rising from Self-Destruction, where we went all over the board on our nature of questioning or not questioning where it is we're going in the dark and the light in our lives, where that has sometimes come to us in a way that we realize later is profound, that we've been destroying ourselves or that we've even tried. If you appreciated this conversation, please hit like. And if you are interested in more conversations in the future, please gently push the subscribe button and tell your friends about this, because the more of us that we have in on these conversations, the better it is for everyone, for rising to and going along that joyful path with curiosity. We're coming to the end of season 4. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I don't put that as much on the podcast channel, but if you are watching this, this is almost the end of season 4. Next week, we have lifting the image of others. We're going to have a great group of people for that. So I hope you'll join us for that. And then we will go into season 5 starting later in May. So stay tuned, get yourself notifications, and I'll see you further down the joyful path. Ciao.